Well, hello everybody and welcome to season 4, episode 25 of the KCCA TV show. For this particular one, we're out here in the wilderness and I'm not alone. I'm with the usual suspect. Very happy to have you on the KCCA TV show, Patrick.
Thank you, my brother, Magina Moses. Happy to be back on KCCA TV and here to talk sport, but first, KCCA.
First, KCCA. Now we have a plethora of stuff to talk about on the show tonight. That will also include the double game week where KCCA takes on Busoga United and Solitary Bright Stars as we wind up the StarTimes Uganda Premier League. But not forgetting, we'll start with that second part of Chairman Julius Raymond Kabugo's interview. And there's so much that he was talking about, and this is a continuation of all this. Normally I say you and I, but this time I will say you and us are definitely walking this journey together. All right, last week when I told you that we'll still have the second part of Chairman Julius Raymond Kabugo's, breakdown of everything KCCA at 60, and we ended it at how StarTimes and all other sponsorships were secured. And Chairman, I want us to start from there exactly like we did the previous episode. How did we, or how did you plus your team secure that big sponsorship from StarTimes?
StarTimes was, of course, one of our biggest sponsors at the time. And I remember that we've had them for the previous years before we had tremendously improved as a club. Okay. I think the sponsorship at the time was around 300 million per year. But I knew that for the previous years, we had done very, very well. And I knew that we had given StarTimes a lot of value. They, too, had expressed that to us. So the first thing I did was to find out the media value that we had given the sponsor, of course, without their knowledge. Yeah. And I remember we contracted a professional firm to do this for us. I discovered that just within a year, we have earned them over 1.8 billion in media space, just featuring their logos, just having almost them
TV interviews. Every time the team was going out there, they filmed and all that. Yeah,
exactly. So we have earned them 1.8 billion. Now that gave me an idea of how much value we had obtained as an organization, but also how much we could command, out there. And when I went to see the CEO then, who was a very good negotiator, one of the key skills of a leader, you have to be a negotiator, especially when in such positions. Because if you can't negotiate, you definitely cannot pull off deals.
True.
So I went to see him and we started discussing, having this conversation of renewal because the contract was obviously, ending. But also we had so many other guys who were interested in sponsoring the club, following the success that we had. They made their offer, which was not up to what we expected, and definitely the conversation commenced. The truth is, it took some time. I don't know, we almost had meetings in all the hotels around town, trying to negotiate this deal until a time when I felt that I had negotiated to my level of going beyond that point. I remember at the time we had the StarTimes that closed at 700 million. Okay. But I felt that we needed some more, really, in terms of what we had done.
True.
Now, in negotiation, there is this strategy where when you send someone, they get a point where they cannot negotiate any further. Because it is believed that by that time they are now familiar to the other party. There's a way you become friends, you're taking tea, you understand? So you become familiar and you start feeling for the other party because they start expressing their concerns, this is a lot of money, we are not making a lot of profit. So somehow you get into the organization, and if you're not very careful, you can make that decision before perhaps getting, the full value of what you're negotiating for. So I knew that at the time, I had hit the climax, but I knew the strategy. So I decided to get the executive director of KCCA then, Miss Jennifer Mc, to get into the final now negotiation around table talks. So I went and briefed her. I told her that, look, we have negotiated And these guys have offered 700 million. But I believe that, in my opinion, and all my belief and the value that we have, the least amount of money that we should be getting from any sponsor right about this time is 800 million. So I request you to have a meeting with StarTimes and call this off. Yeah, of course she agreed. She was one of our biggest fans and sponsors. And the meeting happened.
Wow.
For some reason, it took 4 minutes for the guy to say yes.
Something that had taken you...
Absolutely. In 4 minutes, we got into the meeting. Hello, how are you?
Yeah.
Of course, I shared the conversation we had and negotiations. And then she said, yeah, well, that's a great thing, but we think our value is 800 million, short of which we will not be in a position to continue with this partnership.
Yeah.
And of course, no one wanted to lose KCCA at that time.
How?
And those guys just said, yeah, okay, let's go, let's do it. So that's how we got this contract. But of course, prior to that meeting, we had so many engagements. I remember in one of the meetings requesting Agri to come and sit in and negotiate. We pushed it really hard. But it's all down to the fact that we knew the value of this club. That's one. Number two, we knew what we wanted at the time. Of course, number three, we had so many ways, so many strategies to go around these negotiations and eventually, get what we want. So I was very, very happy that at the time of my leaving, because I left 31st July 2017. So this new contract was just starting. I think the first tranche of the money came in during the next season after I had left. I was very, very happy as a leader, not to just go leaving the club without resources, but rather living at a time when there was enough money. And I was very confident that now the club would be in position to continue and be successful, both off and on the pitch.
I'll tell you that's exactly what happened, because immediately I think you leave, the club gets into, we were just coming from the Confederations Cup.
Yes.
And just the following season, that's when the club got into the CAF Champions League.
Yes.
And I don't think it would have been possible if it wasn't because of that, the funding.
Yes.
So that was top class, sustainability for the football club that you did. And we really, really appreciate. I don't know if, but I know you do get all these people applauding you for all this kind of good work you did with your team. Still about KCFC at 60, Chairman, how do you envision the next 6 years for KCFC? Because it's been top class mastery for KCFC for the last 60 years. But as a person that has been part of this club, where do you see KCFC in the next 60? What are some of the things you want to see? Could have been things that you wanted to happen during your time that probably did happen. Could have been things that you could have thought about. There's another important question I will ask you later on, but where do you see KCCFC in the next 60 years?
First of all, I want to congratulate KCCFC for making it 60 years. I think in Uganda especially, not so many organizations can sustain that longevity. And I want to thank everyone that has made a contribution right from 1963 to now where we are. That means that so many people have come and they have done their job so well to at least at the bare minimum keep the club, around. That's incredible. I believe that the next 60 years, KCCA is going to continue producing more great leaders that will keep it around. But more importantly, I'd love to see a KCCFC that is self-sustaining. I think for me that's very important. That is not detaching, but rather being independent of the organization, which is KCCA.
Okay.
I know that for so many years, KCCA has been supporting KCCFC, but I believe now the organization has become of age to start attracting its own finances through sponsorships, sale of prayers, and other sources of revenue, like most of those clubs are doing it in Europe. And I believe that's the only way that this club is going to be more successful. It's very difficult for you to run an organization that is dependent on another, which is also dependent on another. Because if the other person this KCCA is dependent on is unable to come through, that means that risk, we call it inherited risk, you're going to inherit that risk as well. And that would affect the progress that has so far been made, but also more importantly, sustaining the results that have been obtained. But I see a KCCA with a stadium. I see a KCCA with players actually grooming and keeping them here. There are countries where players don't want to leave their home clubs because they can be sustained there and they can thrive. In Uganda, we have not reached that milestone. But one of my prayers is that if we get to a level where we can keep our prayers and let them go at a time when we feel they should go, but they should have made a tremendous contribution. One of the reasons why KCCA has been very successful over the last 5 years also is because of having, among other good players, Alan Okello in that team. He stayed for some good time. And the time he was around, you could tell that we're building around him, but also he managed to take the club to another level, including making it very difficult for Mamelodi Sundowns when we played them in the Champions League. You could tell that was such a huge difference. But this was a home talent, young lad coming through the academy of the club and being of such of impact, to the club. And not only that, but also commanding such a very significant transfer fee when the time came for him to leave on. So that's what I'm seeing, that players would take that example of Alan Okello, coming through the academy, stay for some time. By the time you leave, you're actually leaving over 20 players of perhaps your ability out of the fees that you leave for the club, but also out of the example that you've left, in the club. So that's what I'm seeing. And I know that the next 6 years are going to be significant, and the club is going to grow from strength to strength. It's going to win, but of course, the elusive CAF Champions League trophy should one day come to Kabugo. And I want to believe that in the next 6 years, actually I want to say in the next 10 years, or even less, KCCA should be in a position to win the Champions League.
I do believe you, and I know it's going to happen. I do believe you, and I'll look straight into the camera and say I do believe him, because I know it's all this is possible. I've liked the fact that you talk about the longevity. I know very many businesses, very many football clubs don't even get to see probably their 10th birthday. Most of them either they have changed the name, or they have changed. Let me say the club is bought by someone else, but for the last 60 years, KCCA, until maybe the club, became an authority. Sorry, until the organization turned into an authority. That's the only time probably the name changed. That whole longevity you've talked about. Someone out there watching would like to know is you talked about if you became a chairman in the last week's segment. Is Julius Raymond Kabugo ever going to get back to football? And if so, do we see him into management again? And in which role? Someone out there wants to know.
Of football?
Yes. Football management. It could be, I don't want to give you any position for you. I mean, you're here. But someone out there wants to know, are you still in football? Or are you going to get back in football sometime?
You never say never. But the thing is, I think I've moved on in so many other things. One of the things I do right now, I'm a pastor. I pastor people. I'm a church planter under I planted a church recently in my community. And I want to plant over 1,000 churches before I die, because we are transforming the spiritual, social, and economic renewal of people, giving them hope, but also focusing on their economic abilities, not just, they relate with God, working on the individual, but also trying to help you know how you can, thrive in this economy and everywhere. And we are doing this globally for the church where I go to. So that's one of my key roles. The other key role I'm doing right now, I'm leading a poultry business. That is not just for me, but for so many people. We are implementing an outgrower system where we have set up a center of excellence. Now we have so many farmers that come learn and go and implement what we've taught them. And many of them are being very, very successful, especially women and youth. And we're very, very happy with that, because it's making a huge difference, in their lives. I feel that I've moved into helping people at a larger scale, at a global scale. Not to say that football is not on a global scale, but I think I've moved on. My coming into football was for the purpose of demonstrating that it's possible. That's what motivated me. I did not have so much interest in being a chairman of a football club, as a matter of fact, because even at the time I was so busy. But I just felt that no one was doing it right. And despite the fact that I talked to some people to change a couple of things, they're not that much willing to do so. So I understood the fact that the best way people appreciate things is when they see you doing it. So I took the risk. Why the risk? Because it would have backfired.
True. Yeah, it could.
But I took the risk to move in out there and try to demonstrate that if you do things right, if you are accountable, when you lead with a transformational mind, with the results at the end, at the back of your head, and then do things right and get the right people in the right spaces, you can actually deliver success, not just for yourself, but for so many people. The impact that you can generate and you can create on people, on generations. This is how it's done. And that's why my stay was short, because like Jesus stayed for 3 years and he has been of great impact on all of us. So I didn't want to stay so long, but I wanted to demonstrate that this is how it's done. And that's what I actually did. That's why even before I left, I made sure there's enough money, for the club. There are sponsorships, there is stability, there are good stuff like you. We left very good stuff. And I'm glad that you're still there. That means that the choices we made were right. Leaving the right people in the right positions to continue and sustain what we had done, at the time. But I cannot say that I'll never be back in football. I don't know, because now I'm in community transformation. Who knows? I could start a community club in my community because there are so many younger people who are very good at football. That could get me back because I know what to do. But if it ever happened, I'll be glad, and I'll definitely do what I've done before or even more in that space.
Well, you've heard it. It doesn't rule out that he will not be getting back to football. So at least that's a plus. We know what the kind of changes and the kind of growth that happened during his reign as the chairman. And like I'll keep saying that the club is really proud. The club is really proud and very happy of what exactly happened during him. And we are, carrying on what you people did. As we try to wind this up, your overview and your view on how the game is run in Uganda currently. So much is happening. I'm sure you're following, though silently. But what is your view on how the game is run, on the pitch and the off the pitch?
Yeah, I think we have a lot of work to do in the game of football. I'm happy that some work is being done. Yeah, we are building a stadium at KCCA. That's good. The other day, I watched Vipers playing KCCA at night on floodlights. Then there was a game at KCCA on floodlights. I think those are very incredible achievements that are taking place. But I also know that we still have a longer way to go. The fact that the national team cannot play football at home, I think that has taken us back so many years. It feels like nothing has been done over the last years. I felt that was really not a very nice thing. I'm praying that very soon that can be, sorted out. There's a lot of progress that has been made, but also there are things that come around and you feel like, are we making progress or are we actually not making progress? But my advice is where we are doing well, let us continue. The clubs that come out to do well, Vipers has made massive investments. KCCA has made massive investments. I've seen Villa is trying to get back because it's very, very important that Villa is back on the scene because Villa is, there's something special with having big clubs competing. That's what makes the game of football. Imagine not having Arsenal, Man United in the league of the English Premier League. It would feel like there's no football. But those two clubs, of course, on top, in addition to a few others, it makes the leagues look very attractive and competitive. So we need those clubs. We need the Express. Recently, Express had picked up. Very interesting. I don't know, recently, I've been asking around about it, and it feels like they're trying to find their foot back. I hope that happens very soon. So yeah, there's progress being made. There's work being done. But I know that the game of football still has work to do. If we focus, come together, become one. Sometimes there's a couple of fights here and there. I don't know why people are fighting. But I imagine if they could focus that energy on doing what is good. If they could focus on that energy on doing what is good, I believe that will take us very far. And more importantly, the time has come for a Ugandan club to win a Champions League trophy. The time has come. If you're 60 years old as a club, having played in the Nations Cup, almost won it.
78.
The
finals.
The finals. I believe that there's some good years now. I think the time has come for clubs to get there. Why? There's no way we are going to go back to that level if the clubs are not being run.
If the clubs are not strong.
Because they produce the players that are supposed to go. and do it.
Best football game, your best football game that, oh my, this was the best game I ever watched, and your reasons to why that game.
I enjoyed the Villa games.
One particular one, but probably
during my reign, Villa never won any game against us.
Yeah,
never won any, apart from that very funny game in Ntungamo. And then the same funny game in Nambole when they suspended almost all our players.
Yes.
And by the way, I made it as a point. I said, for as long as I'm the chairman, Villa will never win a game against us. And rightly so, they did not win a game against us. But there was a game, I think the last year of my reign, when I was the chairman. By then they had Shafiki Bisaswa, their coach.
Yeah.
Very, very competitive. We wanted to win the league. And Villa was right behind us. So we had a game at Lugogo when they came to Lugogo. And everyone thought, they were really playing very well. Everyone thought Villa was going to win. But we ended up giving them their 3, I think, to 1. And they left. And my good friend, Benny Misaga, was really he left with a red face. But yes, it was nice to win, especially against him at the time. Every time we won against Villa, it felt it was a revenge mission.
For what happened in 2015?
What happened, yes, in 2015.
Chamate.
Yes, in Chamate, yes.
A conversation with Chairman Julius Raymond Kabugo cannot just be, done in 2 episodes. But, I mean, because of time and because time has never been our ally or our biggest friend, I want to let Chairman just look into that camera and give your parting shots as we wind this up.
First of all, once again, I want to congratulate KCCFC on your 60th anniversary. That tells that great things have happened, but more importantly, great men and women who have come before everyone else have done some incredible work. Thank you so much. I know that the next 60 years are going to be even more successful. There are going to be so many trophies won, so many things done, lots of stadiums, built, not just the one that we're building, but so many of them. But also more great men and women are going to come after this to take this club forward. I know that the future of Ugandan football to a great extent is dependent on KCCFC. There's no question about it. And it's going to depend on how we lead this organization going forward. So I'm looking forward to the next 60 years. But more importantly, I'm very grateful to the fans that have supported this club all through. Thank you. Keep going. The numbers are growing, and I can see your commitment and faith and passion, that you have. Keep going. There's no football without fans. You are the engine of football. You are the engine of this club. Keep supporting, keep loving, especially in times when the results are not on your side. That's when you're needed the most, to stand with the team, stand with the management, and to support the players, to encourage them to come back and give you the results that you want. I'll be out there cheering you on, loving on you, and praying for you that you make it all the time. I love you.
All right, welcome back from that break. Like we told you, we have Patrick on the show joining us today. Not a very new face for you that have been following the KCCFC TV show.
Yours truly,
Patrick Ochieng. Now, Patrick, we kick it off straight with KCCFC's season. It's a StarTimes Uganda Premier League. Last week, KCCFC, or this previous week that has just ended, KCCFC beating Bull FC at the empty Nomondi Stadium. That was on Tuesday, 1-0. And 3 clubs still tied. That is on 49 points. The difference is the goal difference. First of all, KCCFC's past week, what did you make of that game against Bull FC? You could also hint on what happened at the Luzira Prisons grounds when KCCFC drew to Express.
Thank you, Moses. I think when KCCA hired the services of Mia, Jackson Mayanja, you could see a new environment in the team. The team was up and running. We were winning games. And then all of a sudden, the energy kind of died off. I don't know why, because if you look at that game against UPDF, 1-1 at home, Then on Duparaka, 2-2. We are talking of games which KCC actually led. So you could already see a trend of what is happening. And then we went to Vipers, lost 1-0, a game which I actually think KCCA were a better side compared to the hosts who won the game. Unfortunately, KCCA, out of a possible 9, KCCA won 3. Actually 2, because 1-1 UPDF, 2-2 on Duparaka. I'm talking of games that KCCA would have won. If KCCA had won those, right now the title talk would actually be very, very different. And then we go to Luzira and play Express to a 0-0 draw. A game that I also think KCCA didn't play so well. And for me that is worrying. That also showed the display at Bull. Bull, if I'm to be totally honest, I think Bull had a better game than KCCA overall. But that is football. At times you play well, at times you play bad, but you have to get the results. Because at this point, what KCCA need are 3 points, and they got it.
And you're taking everything away from the boys when you say Bull had a better game. KCCFC won that game.
Yes.
But maybe
at times you win ugly.
Yeah, you win ugly, but maybe they just had a few glimpses of brilliance in the game. But you can say on the overall they had a better game than KCCFC.
Possession, second half. Actually, second half. We have to look at second half. Bull actually had most of the ball. Bull created more chances. If it wasn't for the man of the match, Ochan, being at the top of his game, we would be talking. The table wouldn't be looking the way it is now. We'll be talking of different things.
After that game, the table, how it looks like top 3, because that's where our focus is. Vipers on 26 games, have won 14, drawn 7, lost 5, and have a goal difference of 22 with 49 points. KCC was second, 26, won 14, drawn 7 like Vipers, lost 5 like Vipers, but have a goal difference of 16 on 49 points. And then finally, SC Villa on 26 games, 16 wins. Actually, they've won the most games this season. The only problem is they have lost the most compared to the 3, because they have lost 7, but they have 3 draws, goal difference of 7 and on 49 points. With 2 games next week, KCCFC visiting Busoga on Tuesday in Jinja at Kakindu, and then hosting Bright Stars on Saturday. You feel KCCFC have a chance to win the league?
All the 3 teams have a chance, because with football, we saw Vipers go and lose against Bright Stars at Kavumba. Then we saw Villa also drop points. We've seen KCC also drop points. So at this stage, with what has been happening, you cannot tell right now who's going to win the league, because all the teams are taking the league to the wire. Even if one drops a point, you will see that the 2 teams actually might as well take it to the last games. And I think it's interesting for us to see that now we have Ugandan football actually having this kind of stiff competition.
Yes.
For me, I tell people, maybe or maybe not. We very well know Villa was docked off points, 2 points. So just imagine if Villa had those 2 points.
And they have won the most games.
Yeah,
they've won
the
16
most
games.
Yes, the talk would be actually very different. So credit to Villa. Very many people actually didn't. I'm very sure even Villa players and fans and the team did not expect to be where they were. But they have, with the kind of problems they have really done so well to be where they are with 2 points docked off them. So it makes you think, what were other teams doing?
Do you ever wish them well, Villa?
No.
This is where we want to understand this man's allegiance.
Do you
ever wish them well?
I can never. Why?
Why?
Why would I? I've never supported Villa.
Okay. Who do you support? Best time for people to also know.
I want to keep that to myself. I can't answer. Let me be like...
Guys, now I think you can... Okay.
Who I support is best known between me and my God.
Okay.
I may be supporting you, my brother. I always support
No. I said football club. We have
Football
KCC,
club.
Vipers and Villa. Who do you support? Make it official here.
KCCA,
Vipers and Villa, the top 3.
but that is very...
See? Anyway.
It's automatic. KCCA. I know you want to hold me accountable.
It's automatic.
For not answering.
I mean, for me, you don't even need to ask.
Yes, you
KCFC
don't
through
need
and
to
through. I mean, it's very
Then
clear.
why are you
Everybody
asking me?
knows.
But you also know.
I'm not just sure about you. The remaining games for the top 3 sides, we've got Express, Bull, we've got Bull, Vipers playing Bull away on Tuesday. The day KCFC will be playing
Busoga
in Jinja. Vipers will be at Njeru playing Bull, and then they will play Busoga on the final day of the season. And then KCCA plays Busoga on Tuesday, while it also plays Bright Stars on Saturday. And then we have Villa playing Black Spur at home on Tuesday, and then URA away in Lugazi on the final day. Which team do you see dropping points, and what is your final prediction of the StarTimes Uganda Premier League? Which team will be on top on Saturday at about 6 p.m.? That's because that's when I think we'll be able to know who has won the league.
For me, on Saturday, I think Villa are most likely to drop points against URA.
Okay.
Because URA have not won as many games, but they have drawn. Actually, URA, I think, is the team that has drawn the most in the league. Looking at the teams, maybe like top 8 or top 6, URA has the most draws. So I think, looking at the fixtures, Villa has a tougher game.
Okay.
It's playing an opponent that is supposed to be in the top 3, but has had a bad season. So I think Villa might have to drop points. Black Spur, they might maneuver.
Because they're home.
A way. Yes, they're home. They might find a way. But you never say home. KCCA drew how many games at home?
I mean,
crucial
but we are
points.
still in the title race.
Yeah, so you never know. But Villa, I think, against URA is a tough call, and I would like to think they may drop points, but you never know.
Okay.
They can surprise us and they pick up points.
And then Vipers and KCCA?
For Vipers and KCCA, I think both
will win their remaining games.
will win their remaining games.
So the difference here is
the difference
goals.
is goal difference.
Do you see KCCA score 10 plus goals in these games to try and catch up?
What's the goal difference between KCCA and Vipers?
Vipers have scored 6 more goals compared
6
to
more
KCCA
goals.
because Vipers have 22, while KCCA have a goal difference of 16.
If
Yes.
KCCA can score 3 goals in the next, 6 goals in the next 2 games and make sure Vipers don't score, games end 0-0.
But you said you expect both teams to win their remaining games.
Now, and you took me into KCCA scoring goals.
Yeah.
Because if
We're
both
looking
teams
at
win,
a scenario where both have won their remaining
yes,
games.
it means KCCA will have to score goals. But
Outscore.
you outscores Vipers is not scoring.
The highest score for KCCA this
Vipers
season has
hit
been
someone
4-1, and that was against SC Villa.
Vipers hit someone 5 express, which
That should also be the highest score
which
this season.
KCCA drew with 0-0. So you get a scenario where if both teams win, Vipers may be crowned champions because of goal difference. And I think that's what I see. I don't see KCCA slipping up, because if KCCA slips, we've seen a scenario where KCCA slips and Vipers also slips up. Now, in this case, I think if both teams win, which I highly think KCCA are going to win their next 2, Vipers are going to win their next 2, Villa may as well win their next 2. It will still come down to goal difference.
You have Busoga fighting relegation,
Yes.
and they have a game against KCCA at home and KCCA and against Vipers away in the same week. You don't see any upsets for any of the teams?
No.
So that means if Busoga lose both games and the teams below it, that is UPDF and Black Spur, win, maybe their remaining games could be problems for Busoga. A team fighting relegation can be tough sometimes.
Baraka was also fighting. It was actually the last team at the bottom. What happened? It didn't win. So fighting relegation and actually winning games is totally different. And for me, I think there's a reason why they are fighting relegation. It means they have not been good enough all through the season. So it shows you the kind of quality and mentality they have. If you've not had the mentality to win games throughout the season, what makes you think that you're going to actually win the games when the season is coming to an end?
I'll be giving my prediction later on as I wind up the show, but just to give you the numbers ahead of this one, just like you can see on your screen.
As you're giving your prediction, please be a footballer.
Yeah.
Don't put emotions.
But I'm not a footballer.
I
I
know.
only play Sunday League somewhere.
I know you're going. Okay, be
A football person.
open and a football person and neutral.
I will definitely be that person. So the numbers ahead of both weeks for KCFC, and we'll start with the game between Busoga United and KCCFC at Kakindu in Jinja. Both KCCFC and Busoga have played 12 games, the last 12 games, and Busoga has never won a game against KCCFC. Very important statistic as you go into this one. KCC has won 10, and both sides have shared spoils twice. Busoga scoring 6 goals in 12 games, and KCC scoring 24 goals in 12 games. Points for both clubs, Busoga with 2 points, that is from the 2 draws, and then KCCFC with 32 points. And then the head-to-head between KCCFC and Bright Stars, that is the final game of the StarTimes Uganda Premier League season. Just like you can see on your screen, both clubs have played 21 games, and in the last 21, KCC has won 11, while Bright Stars have won 5. Both clubs have shared spoils 5 times, while KCCFC has scored 26 goals in the last 21 games, and then Bright Stars have scored 17 goals in the last 21 games. Now, KCCFC have got 38 points in the last 21 meetings against Bright Stars, while Bright Stars have 20 points in the last 21 meetings against KCCFC. You get to feel that in both games, the odds are in favor of KCCFC. Are the numbers, have they got anything to do in these fixtures next week?
I would want to think so, but it's no longer certain, because we've seen KCCA has never dropped points against Tony Park at home. It happened this season.
Yeah.
And moreover, at a worst state, you're leading 2-0, and then you drop and the game ends 2-2.
Yeah.
KCCA has never lost points to UPDF at home. You lead UPDF and then you draw.
Yeah.
So for me, I don't want, right now, at this point, I don't want to go by stats. I want to go by experience. I think the experienced players that KCCA and Vipers have are the players who are going to win. The mentality, because they have been winners before. And I think that is going to be the difference for these remaining 2 games. Right now, it's not about statistics, because even Vipers had never lost against Bright Stars, but recently they did. So right now, stats are actually not helping us in any way.
Should we say you've lost hope?
No, I've not lost hope.
We have got 2 games to go, and anything can happen in football.
That's why I've said,
But according to what you're
statistics,
saying,
no.
Statistics, no.
Mentality of the players. KCCA has players who have won trophies.
And it will matter.
Yes,
in
it
these
will
last
matter.
games.
This is the time for them to show that they have to step up and fight like champions, or champions they want to be.
As the players fight as champions, as we wind this up, very important that for KCCFC, Mr. Jackson Mayanja Mia returns to the dugout. And a player also, the captain of the football club, that is Benjamin Ochan, will miss this one due to suspension. That means in comes either Derek Ochan or Ali Mwirusi, who started the first, I think, 3 games of the season. And how do you envision everything to be like? Who do you fancy to be in goal for that game against Busoga? And also the fact that Jackson Mia is back on the touchline. That is the interim coach for KCCFC, as we wind this up.
For me, that is very simple, actually. Ochan will have, Derek Ochan will have to be in goal, because if we recall, there is a period where Derek was in goal and actually made some crucial good saves during that time. So if you're looking for someone to step in for the suspended captain in Ochan, then you must have his namesake coming in goal, and people will not realize that one Ochan is missing for the other Ochan in goal.
The return of the coach on the touchline?
Yes, I think the return of the coach on the touchline is also going to add something to the players. You see, when you have the coach, I love the way he talks to them with passion, and at times he's a little bit tough. So when he's on the touchline, there is something that he can add to the players while they're on the pitch.
Well, guys, I promised you that I will be making my prediction on how the league is going to end. And for this partition, I'm going to make my prediction, and Mr. Patrick Ochieng is going to wind the show up, right? It's been a roller coaster of a season for KCCFC, we all know. And this is the kind of competition we all probably didn't envision. Most of you could have thought maybe it would have been between KCCFC and Vipers, but look, Villa is up here and also jostling for the title. All teams tied on 49 points. The difference is the goal difference. I see some teams slipping up this week, and I will not mention which teams will slip up, but my prediction is at the end of the season, on Saturday, KCCFC will be champions of the StarTimes Uganda Premier League. That's my prediction. And he had his prediction. He said that, what was the prediction? That Vipers will win the league on goal difference. Well, and that's been it for the show. We had so much on the show today that had the chairman, Julius Kabugo, speak to us about KCCFC at 60. We'll have more and more of those series. And also, my brother joining me, and we had to share the club news. So, Mr. Patrick Ochieng, please, can you wind the show up?
To start with, I did not say Vipers are going to be champions. Yeah. However much, I said the table might remain the way it is. So
that means if it remains the way it is.
Okay, but you're corrupting me.
Okay.
Of course.
You're winding up.
I think if I'm to look at the table right now, the way the table is, I expect, as a fan, I pray for Vipers to, of course, slip up, and I want to see KCCA be champions, and that is totally being honest. My prayer is the only way KCCA can be champions is for it to win its remaining 2 games and Vipers to drop points at least from the remaining 2 games. And that is the only way that KCCA can win. And to our fans, Thank you so much for watching KCCFC TV. The next time you see us on TV, we might actually be champions because it's next Sunday and the final game of the season is on Saturday. That was me and my brother,
Moses Magero
Mwanje. Thank you.
Have a fantastic
To all
night.
our fans, good night.